All right,
Make
good
sure you
evening,
talk into
everybody.
the microphone.
We're going to call the public meeting here, or I'm sorry, workshop of October 22nd, 2020. Then take the roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Here.
Council members Achara.
Here.
Donlin. Fisher.
Here.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Here, the notice requirement for the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Edgewood Park Press, Coaster, posted in Town Hall, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 30, 2019. Mike, you want to go over the agenda?
So let's do some
We
of the
have
people
guests?
that are here, yeah.
Okay.
You want to?
Yep, just come up to the microphone. We need you to state your name and address for the record, Laura, even though we know you. Oh, we need a microphone for you?
We're going to get one, hold on.
Okay.
There we go. Hello. Laura Mistretta Dietz. I live at 1701 Holbrook Street in Oakhurst. I've been in the township for more than 30 years. And as you know, I have spoken to you, Mr. Siciliano, and you, Mr. Napolitano, several times. And I was requesting and asking that you consider building a dog park in town. And I have prepared documents for you that I'd like to bring up, if I can.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura.
And where's the agenda for the workshop? Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Just gotta turn it over once.
Thank you, Laura.
So I tried to do a lot of the legwork for you, and the first thing I did was drive around town looking at different locations within Playa Park and also near Playa Park. And I was considering and hoping the best site could possibly be next to the library where that open area is. I also saw there that there's a plaque there stating that back in the day that was actually a polo field. So, and there is some driveway area there, and great possibility that we could possibly do this. Or in Playa Park, I also thought, I know that you are building the Maya Pond, and I know that near the pond, just ahead of it, that field usually is never really used for sporting events. And I think it'd be a nice tie-in for the Maya Pond, also with a dog park in the distance, and there is some shade there and trees there. So I did put out, I know some of you are on the Ocean Care website on Facebook, some of you are not. But I did try to put out a post asking the residents of the town how they felt about this. And I wanted you to know that it was overwhelming, the response that I got. I received over 230 positive comments. I received well into the 300s of likes and loves. I had one negative comment. One. That was it. So we have a lot of dog lovers, a lot of dog families in this town. I know myself, I have to drive to Tinton Falls. I have to drive to Shark River. I was able to send Rob Achara, Dave Fisher, and John Napolitani videos, photos, and pictures of the Tinton Falls Dog Park and the Shark River Dog Park for reference. I also thought that if it is a cost issue or a budget issue, I thought we could possibly do a sponsorship type idea, like we do for Little League with the banners, football with the signage and banners. I've seen that done at other parks before. People could possibly sponsor benches, have their names on it, things like that. So if you go to the proposed that I have for you. No?
And thank you for making the font real big.
I did. A lot of you are my age.
Some are older.
Some might be older.
Okay, so I have to go off my phone, sorry.
Laura, not this end of the table, so.
Oh, is that the young end of the table?
Yeah.
Good time's coming.
Okay, so
And when it hits, it's gonna.
I was basically thinking an appropriate size could maximum be basically half a football field, because we would need to divide the park into two sections. We would like to do small dog, large dog, which is safe and it's appropriate. 40 pounds and under, and then 40 pounds and over. It just works well that way. So
Do
as
the
you
other
can,
parks have it separated like that? I've
they
never
do.
seen
Shark
it.
River has it separated like
That's
that. Tinton Falls doesn't, and the Tinton Falls Park is really not my favorite. I try to go there 6:30 in the morning when no one's there, because I have 3 very large dogs. I have 3 golden retrievers.
Just out of I don't know how much is he or she.
So
Yes.
Hawthorne weighs about, good boy. Hawthorne weighs about 84.
Oh wow. Okay, got it.
Yep, he's about 26 inches. So that would be one of your large dogs.
Okay.
So I tried to do a lot of the pricing for you with 4-foot fencing, 4-foot gating, double gating, and things that would be needed in the park. So if you estimate a 50 by 50, which is 750 linear feet, we have a 4-foot high galvanized chain link fence. So the approximate cost for just the fencing is about $18,900. We need 4 gates, 4 foot by 6 foot. They are $70 each, so that'd be about $280. We would need trash receptacles. We'd need 2, one in the small park, one in the large park, obviously, because dog owners clean up after themselves. Now, those could be supplied, obviously be Township containers, but I had pricing of $80 a piece, so $160. And then in the park, they install pet waste bag dispensers, and those run about $60 each, and they would just need to be filled with rolled pet bags. And I thought it'd be a nice idea to have some benching there for people to sit down on. And again, if that's not a priority, we could always get a sponsor on that, or have someone's name on it, a dog lover in memory of, something like that. And then we do need signage. I did send to Rob, Dave, and John photo, because those are the cell phones I had. I was able to text them pictures of the different signage that's needed at the dog park. One obviously is the rules. The other obviously is responsibility of the dog owner. The other is hours. Other would be small dog, large dog. And then the other would be clean up after your dog. Dog needs to have proper inoculations, et cetera, et cetera. So approximate cost for the park would be about $20,000.
Okay. Good job, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Laura, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
You mentioned something that there might be some state money or grant money available.
I did, because I spoke to Vin Gopal. I happened to run into him in town and mentioned to him about what I was looking to do. And he did mention that if it's something that the town couldn't, fit into their budget or whatever, he's sure that he could find money for this project. So if, he could be reached out to, I think that'd be great.
Okay. We'll check with him on that too. Thank you.
And I know a big concern for a lot of people is they're worried about the violence or the biting or the fighting. Responsible dog owners don't allow that to happen. If I happen to be in the park with my 3 Goldens and one of my boys isn't acting right, I'm leaving. And I think true dog people will all do the same thing. And I know the people in town really want it badly enough. I know that they're going to be responsible.
Okay.
Anybody want to ask me any questions?
So you suggested Joe Playa and, I'm sorry.
Rob, you gotta talk into the microphone.
You suggested Joe Playa and, I forgot what the other one
Next
was.
to the library.
Next to the library?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
any other possibilities in your mind?
Well, we did once talk about the area that was off of West Park Avenue, but that is county property.
Yeah. The only other place that's almost set up for it is Dave DeRouge Park, where the old handball courts were.
Right.
I mean, that's
By
fenced, it's
Park
fenced on
Boulevard.
3 sides, and it's about that size. And I thought about that, but we're also looking at that for bocce courts for the Italian American Club. So we'll talk to them more about that. That's the only other area. I walk my dog there every day, and I always think, boy, just throw a fence up here, we're good to
Right.
go.
Right. I mean, you know, we can't just go into the park. I mean, my dogs love to just go with the frisbee and the ball, and I can't let them off leash and
Yeah.
just let them go. You know, I'm worried about the deer. I'm worried about other people who might be afraid of dogs.
We have a
You
no
know.
leash ordinance anyway.
Exactly. For that. So it'd be nice to have an area to really let your dog go and run. And I've also been to dog parks where they've actually had activity pieces in the park for the dogs, almost like little agility pieces that the dogs play on.
Like Yappy Hour place over there?
No, not like Yappy Hour,
she has
more
stuff.
like actual agility pieces, like a stairs or, you know, a circle that they go through or a tunnel. It is really fun for the dogs and the owners.
Put that on the list for Vin too.
Okay. All right. I have no other questions. Anybody? Okay.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks.
All right, we'll talk about it. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
You too, Skip.
Okay, let's. Oh, well, you would, let Mike do one.
Oh, you have somebody? Yeah. Ken will be with you shortly, Ken. You heard me?
Yeah, he can hear you.
Okay. Mr. Kenneth Lutz is on standby here.
Thank you, Mike.
What is it?
You got it.
Perfect. I passed out a memo tonight. I wanted to bring Mark in to just share everything with you. That Mark has done a fantastic job since he took over as acting director in February. And as of November 1st, upon Tom Crochet's retirement, I'm promoting him to full director of Public Works. I can't say enough about how great he's been with projects, with keeping costs down, with everything involved, dealing with residents. And I just wanted him to be here when I told you. So,
Great. Congratulations, Mark.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll vouch for Mark. He's been around a long, long time, and I knew his dad, his whole family, and Mark's worked for us for quite a while. And I agree, Mike, he's done a great job. So, yeah. So, congratulations, and I'm sure you're going to do great at that position, Mark.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Mark.
You want to do a different one?
Do we want to do Kenny Lutz?
Okay.
Let's do him, and since he's on, and we can get him.
Okay.
Got to move on.
All right, Ken, can you hear us, Kenneth?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
All right, so Kenneth, just state your name and address for the record. You're on a Zoom meeting here.
Yes, Kenneth Lutz, 1100 Brookside Avenue in Ocean.
Okay.
And I'm a member of the Environmental Commission.
Okay, it's repeating. All right, hang on.
We'll get a little bit of echo, Ken. Just be with us. Bear with us 1 second here. All right,
Okay.
our sound engineer has fixed the problem, I think. So go ahead, Ken.
Actually, I think it would be appropriate if Ed started off.
Ed DeFilia? Okay.
Yes.
Ed, state your name and address also. We'll record the meetings.
Sure. It's Ed DeFilia, and I live at 1020 Ramier Ave down in Wanamassa.
Okay.
So we're here this evening to talk about the Township of Ocean's tree ordinance. As you know, that the Environmental Commission has been looking at our tree ordinance for a number of years. Trees in Ocean are an important part of our infrastructure. They help reduce flooding, they help reduce erosion, they help keep heating and cooling costs down in the summer. And unfortunately, our current ordinance is not protecting trees in the way that the Environmental Commission would like to see them protected in town. So we've seen a number of times in the last few years where trees have come down. We've seen homeowners who are unaware of our ordinances cutting them down and denuding their properties. This is a big issue because trees don't just affect the property owners of the property that they're on, they affect their neighbors. They don't care about your property lines, they don't care about what part of town you're in, and they're a resource for all of us. So in order to help come up with some ideas, the Environmental Commission looked at a number of tree ordinances all across the state, and after that review, we compiled some of the best practices and ideas into the proposed ordinance that I believe you all have in front of you. So, without further ado, I will turn it back over to Mr. Lutz.
As soon as we can find him. He's
As
in
soon as you can
cyberspace,
find him.
but we will find him. He's somewhere. He's out there. Hang in there, Ken.
Hang on there, Kenny. This is what happens when you play him.
Vinny has the cord. Not me this time, just so you.
That was me, Kenny.
All right, Ken, we turning it back over to you. Ed just made a very cogent argument there about the tree ordinance that you guys were studying and some things that you put together for us.
Can you hear us, Ken?
Ken, you're on.
Uh-oh.
Am I on mute? Is that me?
No.
Okay.
This is what happens when you play.
Turn on audio is good. How's that, Ken? Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, so
I didn't hear what was going on.
I just did a little prelude for you if you want to take it from there.
Ed speak?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Ken, if you want to
Okay,
just
yeah.
kind of walk through what we've included in this draft ordinance, and then we can answer any questions.
Well, as I'm sure Ed said, although I didn't hear him, I thought I'd just spend a very short time giving you the highlights of the ordinance. The purpose, of course, is to preserve trees in town, and the ordinance basically says you're not allowed to remove trees under any circumstances except a few. So it's really a restriction on the removal of trees that homeowners today can remove 5 trees a year and do that every year until their property is completely denuded. So we've changed it to restrict it to 2 trees per year, and they can't remove any more trees once they've achieved a density of 8 trees per acre. So they're not allowed to completely denude their yards. And any tree that serves as a street tree. Now right now we're not allowed to plant in the right-of-way, but there are a lot of trees on private property whose canopy overhangs the street and really adds a lot to the street. They're considered street trees, and the property owner is not allowed to remove those either, except under extenuating circumstances like the tree is damaged or dying.
The street trees within their count, Ken?
I beg your pardon?
The street trees are within the count of the property, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, yes, if they're on the private property. So again, this is for all of us to discuss. This is just what we're putting forward. And the tree removal permits apply to everybody. So even though a homeowner could take down 2 trees without any questions asked, they still have to apply for a permit. And we're asking for the fees to be high enough to cover all the township expenses of administration and inspection. So we don't really know what that fee ought to be, but we're suggesting $100 for the first 2 trees and maybe $30 for every tree above that. And if a tree cannot be replaced, let's suppose a homeowner is putting in a pool and really needs to take down several trees and just doesn't have any room on the property for more trees. So then they can pay into the tree fund. But we're actually proposing that the money that they would have to pay is commensurate with putting a new tree in, and not just a few $100s. So we're basically saying, you know, it's going to be $1,000 or so, depending on the size of the tree. So that the tree fund will actually have enough funds to cover a full replacement for a tree. And then we're also proposing that the township hire, and you know exactly how that hiring goes, a tree specialist, a licensed tree expert, either on a retainer basis or part-time. And again, the salary for that person should be covered by the application fees.
That's a conundrum. We want enough applications to cover them, but we don't want them taking too many trees down. Right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So again, we're going to have to figure all of this out. And then the other thing is that I know, and I think some of you know, that there are contractors who will go out, a homeowner says, could you take these trees down? And they do it with no questions asked.
Too often.
So we're suggesting, as other towns have done, that all contractors who take trees down be registered in the town and actually get a license, just like a business license.
They don't have one today?
Yeah,
They have a business license.
They have a business. They do, I guess. I don't know how they're slipping through, Ken, but most of these guys are licensed tree guys, and they do know the routine to come in, pull a permit. But you're right, it happens. I've seen it on the weekends, like you have.
Yeah,
It's not that they're not licensed. I think
the township would have a basis for pulling their license if they violate
we can
things.
prohibit them from pulling permits here, maybe.
Exactly. And then finally, the fines in place today are low enough that people could just take down a tree and pay the fine and forget about it. So we're proposing raising the fines to $2,000, for example, just to make it easier to plant the tree rather than take one down.
Yeah, I'm just checking with Mike myself. I think that's something that's by statute or ordinance, or
Yeah, we would have to adjust our fee.
we'd have to adjust our fee on
There's a
it.
maximum for those types of violations, and I'm not sure if it's 2,000.
I think it's 2,000.
Is it then? Okay. All right, Ken, we're good. Ken,
And then finally, I just wanted to point out, there are enough comments in the draft ordinance that we just can't answer, that it's going to have to be up to the council and the manager and the attorney to figure out.
Whose comments were they, Ken? Who asked those questions?
There are collected comments from all of the environmental commission members that we sought feedback from.
Got it. So these aren't Marty, because I actually thought they look compliment here. They look like your comments.
Right.
Mine?
Yeah.
In your draft, you have
That was a
everything
compliment.
covered in here as far as exceptions, as far as pools, additions, things like that.
Mostly, and I think, and Ken can correct me if I'm wrong, there's still a few places where we weren't sure of what was in the town's jurisdiction or not in terms of some exceptions, but most of those areas are covered in there. You know, the point is not to be overly dogmatic about never taking down any tree ever in town, but we need to do a much better job protecting the trees that we have, and this is more of a rebalancing than a new ordinance. It's adjusting what we have to make it in line with where we've gone, especially in terms of cost in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I just, we'll read through the draft again. I got to go over it carefully because as a realtor for many, many years, what you don't want to do is have what we called almost a deed restriction in here as to trees, and where it affects the value of somebody's property who's selling. Because now they have to understand, hey, can't go to Ocean Township because they won't let me put a pool in. They're not going to enlarge the size of the house because I only take 2 trees down a year and 8 in a lifetime or whatever may be in there per acre.
Okay. Just to clarify, the taking 2 trees down a year is part of the ordinance that says you can do it, there are no questions asked.
Right.
Now, if you're putting in a pool or an addition, you just put in a tree removal permit, apply,
All right,
somebody
that's why I got to read
and
the
it's
draft over carefully,
property.
that's what I said.
I think
Right.
we have
I agree, it should not be restrictive like that.
Yeah, Gotta be very careful.
We've just gotten this tonight, so no one's had a chance to read it. Some of us have been here for a while. We called the last effort, which was a long, involved effort.
That was three a year.
And it was 3 a year, and frankly, our people downstairs were inundated. There were more complaints related to that than almost anything else we've ever done. And that's why it was increased to 5. But the bottom line is, it was problematic back then. So we need to review this and then have more discussion.
Okay.
I have one quick question. I know we'll have more discussions. How much of, I'm assuming you pulled this from various other towns?
Yeah.
So,
We based it on the Township of Ocean ordinance. Then we looked at Princeton, what else?
Millstone Borough, Robbinsville.
Yes, Long Branch, Jackson. So we looked at a lot of different ordinances.
Yeah, it's hard to find a like town. That's the problem. Ocean's unique. We have the same population as Long Branch, but we're, they're a quarter of the size. We're the same population as Wall, but they're 3 times the size. Millstone's 20 times the size. So, naturally they could be a little more restrictive with their ordinances. But we'll look
Exactly.
at it. We appreciate the effort, and we see where we're all getting at, and you're 100% right as far as, we really need to control this a little better. And I think the fee thing's a good idea, too, because you're right, Ken. They'll come in and, oh, yeah, that's it, $300, and that's the fine? No problem, I'm taking 10 down. Next thing you know, you have clear cut. So, yeah, let us all kind of really dig into this, and then we can make notes, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah, and I just want to add too that this is the first step, and it's more targeted towards the residential. We didn't really get into the land use for the large developments in here. We wanted to kind of talk through our thoughts on this ordinance in general before we looked at how it would adapt to a large development if one were to come in a forested area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really covered.
And then once we agree on this, then we can make the land development ordinance consistent with whatever your policies are regarding this.
Okay.
perfect.
Good, thank you guys. Thank you both for doing this and putting this together. Thank the Environmental Commission for work on this for us. That's a group behind the scenes. Nobody sees them, and they don't know what they really do. This is part of what you folks do, and we appreciate that. We really do.
Well, thank you.
It's a labor of love.
Hey,
Ken's been at this, I'm going to embarrass him now, over 40 some odd years. Maybe 44, Ken? We're up to?
Yeah, I started when I was 3.
Yes, you did. You had a darker beard then. Oh, Rob was being a wise guy, said I appointed you. 43.
Hey, can one of you guys send the council the document electronically?
Yeah,
please?
absolutely.
Thank you.
You can send that out.
I have it, I can do it.
Oh, thank you.
All right, good stuff, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
All right, good seeing you again.
Thanks, Kenny.
All right.
Okay, next up is Mr. DeRoberts from Government Strategy Group. You had asked to actually have somebody come in and speak about the audits that you were talking about, so he was nice enough to come in today.
Yeah, just state your name and address for the record. Or not address, your company, I guess, is fine.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. How are you tonight? Oops, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants to do.
Thank you. Hello, Ken. How are you? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Here, I can give him this one. This is D1.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken DeRoberts. I'm with Government Strategy Group. We are a management consulting firm focusing on local and county government operations, strictly in New Jersey. We have a diverse team of professionals who span a wide array of functional areas, from public works, public safety, human resources, financial management, procurement, technology, and several members of our team are experienced former managers and administrators. So I appreciate the opportunity to come in and speak with you. Our firm we've been in business for 15 years. We've done a number of projects from shared service studies to rate studies, worked on privatizations, redevelopment, project management. We do short-term projects and long-term engagements. And we do recruitments for various department heads as well. One of the things that we specialize in are operational reviews, organizational reviews. So, for example, we've concluded several studies, and I can give you some nearby communities that we've done these in Red Bank, Keyport, Matawan, for example. We do what's called a management enhancement review. I noticed on your agenda you refer to it as a operational audit. We like to steer clear of the word audit, largely because in audit you're looking back retrospectively and looking for things, typically if there was anything done wrong or incorrectly. We take the opposite approach. We do what's called a management enhancement review, and we look to see how operations could be improved. So we can also share with you several examples of this report. So we've done these organization-wide, or we do them for functional areas. Like we're doing a study currently in Parsippany, just looking at planning, zoning, code enforcement, construction, and so forth. We've done them for various public safety departments. We just did a study for the Long Branch Police Department. But we strongly recommend when an entity is going to consider doing such an evaluation that they do it organization-wide, because it's helpful looking at the interrelationships of all the departments and so forth. And we're currently doing a very in-depth study for the Township of Toms River. They're, as you know, the 8th largest community in the state, and they want us to do not only what we would typically do in a management enhancement review, where we're just looking at functional operations. They want us to really dig deep into how all the departments are functioning. Not quite a desk audit, but how we can come up with improvements for them in efficiency and so forth. So that's typically what we do. It takes generally about 4 months to complete one of these studies. It doesn't take a lot of time working with the individual department heads and key management staff. We try not to interfere with their day-to-day operations. We're pretty good at requesting information, asking various questions, and observing operations. And again, as I mentioned, the orientation is not to look for what people are doing wrong, but look at how operations and organizations can improve themselves. Even on the technology, on workflow processing, process management. Unfortunately, I've been around local government way too long, and one of the words that we hear, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, is, well, this is the way we've always done it. And it's chilling in certain respects, because people don't understand how to use technology to work for them rather than they're working for the technology. So those are some of the key aspects that we take a look at, study, and evaluate.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure, I didn't get into an in-depth conversation with Manager Misillo, what exactly your interests are, but those are some of the things that we could do. Our strong suggestion typically is that if you were to pursue something like this type of an initiative, that you do issue at least a request for qualifications to go through some type of a public procurement procedure. We're very fine with competing with anybody and doing what we do.
We're confident that your fee's probably going to be under the threshold, so we wouldn't have
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
No? I think, and I guess others will have questions because you mentioned something that's interesting. And certainly we don't fall into the category of the in-depth. We had our day way back in 20 years ago, and we put all that behind us. I think everything's operating here. It's just a matter, in my view, being here a long, long time, are we operating consistent with 2020, like you said, technology, ideas? Maybe the departments can use a fresh set of eyes and say, hey, that's great what you're doing. It'd be good if you can add or subtract. I don't know. You know, this is just my thoughts, but I thought it'd be a good idea to at least bring it to the council. I think you're right on not just focusing on one area, because it all does connect to the township as departments go. You know, so there's a police department, chief runs that, public works, of course we have Marky runs that, and so on and so forth. So I'm inclined to maybe hear more about how you oversee or look at the entire township, how it's functioning for good or ill. Maybe it's working out just great and we get that report, that's cool too. Just kind of an exculpatory maybe review, and that's my thoughts of it. So I don't know what the others would feel, but I'm going to leave it up to them.
But you do run a fairly sophisticated operation. Running and managing a local government is not an easy task. And so some of the things that we do and analyze and evaluate, we'll look at, from more of a high level, is your employment structure. How many employees you have in various departments and so forth, compared to peer communities. Because oftentimes you think you're doing a great job, and you probably are, but you're looking and measuring yourself introspectively. In the private sector, we're looking at peer analysis all the time. Government doesn't do that. So looking at how many employees you have for the type of operation you have versus some of your peer communities, sometimes is very revealing. We went into one town, well, it's in the Red Bank report, I could tell you that offhand. We told them that with the number of employees they have, they could easily cut their workforce by 10%. Over time, not looking to lay anybody off, but to do
by attrition, maybe.
Yeah, consider it over in attrition. There were some areas that they were very heavily overstaffed, in compared to what it should be. Sometimes when you have too many people, it doesn't work. Then on the other hand, there have been some places where in a police department we said that you didn't have enough staff, or you had too many vacancies, you got to fill them. And so those are some of the observations that we bring to help you make the right decisions.
We had one. Chief was here when we did a police audit years ago, and that's exactly what I think it brought up, that we were understaffed by 5 or 10. They give you a range basically, and over the years we're able to kind of bring it up to, I think, a comfortable level, but he'll tell you. But I'm looking at it as, it's funny, you have the dichotomy of, here's the mayor and council, and we want to be the concierge of a 5-star hotel, but then we hire a chief financial officer who's really trying to show us how we can really cut this back as minimal as possible, which is good because you want to keep costs down and you want to keep taxes down. So you're trying to balance that. How do we do this so we're still offering high level of services that folks here not only should have, but they're entitled to, but then we keep it down to something reasonable, manageable, and are the departments running efficiently? Are there other things we can do to be more efficient? Maybe it's by way of investing in newer technology or restructuring, or, hey, you have this person running that department, maybe this person can oversee that one, but not that. I don't know. But these are some of the ideas that we thought we would bring a company in to take a look at. But, without holding you down, I don't know if you've done your homework on Ocean to see our size and our staffing levels. Have we gotten that far yet?
We have not.
Okay, and I know it's not fair to ask you about that yet. I was just going to say, what's the range of a full town audit from, I'm sorry, a management enhancement review.
See, I was
strike that
he was
bad
just
word.
testing you, actually.
I wanted to see if he was awake.
Yeah. They range, but the devil is in the details in terms of scope of service, and so forth, and how we shape the scope of work for you. But it could be in the for what you're looking at doing in the $40,000 to $75,000 range.
And that would be all departments?
Yes.
Recreation and
Yes.
public works and
Yes. Exactly.
code enforcement.
Yeah. It
construction.
doesn't include any of the authorities or
Yeah.
education,
they're,
anything like
they're
that.
standalone.
Yes.
We only have one. It's a standalone.
Are there grants that pay for this out there?
Not currently.
Over what period of time do you typically conduct the study? How much time would you be spending?
It takes about 4 months to put the study together, and the biggest challenge that we typically face is, just because we make appointments with everybody, interviews, try to do as much as possible over Zoom, but it's depending on availability and then requesting information, getting the information, processing it. If we don't get the information on a timely basis, and that happens, and sometimes, because especially now we're in the COVID situation, that could make it a bit more challenging. But we work to keep the impact to your key management to a minimum amount. We try not to infringe upon too much of their time, but enough so that we can understand what they're doing and how they're doing. And as I mentioned, the team that we have are all seasoned, experienced experts in their field. So they know very efficiently how to ask what questions and what to look for.
And you mentioned you had a long history in government. Can you talk about your experience and qualifications and maybe some of that of your team? Like what is their background?
Sure. Well, I grew up in government. I started with the city of Summit, went from in 10 years from issuing parking permits to being the city administrator and director of finance. And my one claim to fame that I love is the fact that I took Summit to be the first community in the country to be rated AAA by the credit rating agencies. Up to that point, credit rating agencies back in the 80s wouldn't rate a municipality AAA. I was a teenager back in the 80s, just to set the record straight. And then I've spent a number of years working in investment banking, servicing communities, went back into government, and then started Government Strategy Group back in 2005. As I mentioned, we do lots of studies, shared services, and so forth. So some of my team members include former police directors. We have Henry DeGenesti, who's the former public safety director from the Port Authority. We have Joe Hartnett, who's a former city manager from Montclair, Roadway, and several other communities in the state. We have a fellow by the name of Chris Cotter, who's a retired fire chief and city administrator and an expert in the managing code enforcement, construction, zoning, planning operations. We have experts who are finance officers. We have public works people on our team, an HR specialist who managed HR for one of the large counties in the state. So it's a diverse group of people, and we all work together. And then we have a relationship with a firm that does all of our technology reviews, and we also, if need be, have access to a fellow by the name of Tim Cunningham. Tim, up until 2 years ago, was the director of local government services for the state of New Jersey. He's a partner at Archer Griner, and he comes in when we need any legal expertise reviewing any types of certain legal documents and so forth. So it's a diverse group.
Who's the technology partner?
It's a firm called Radiant Resources. And she happens to be, the owner of the firm happens to be a mayor. She's the mayor of Spring Lake, Jennifer Naughton.
Oh. Yep, no, Jen.
Yeah, and she's very good.
That's
She really understands municipal government. She does project management work with us up in Edison and a few other places. She's very good.
Who do you typically speak to when you come and do the interviews?
Typically, we do one-on-one or one-on-two interviews with the governing body, with legal counsel, all your professionals, with all the department heads and key management staff. And, we'll coordinate directly with the township manager just to make sure that, one person is aware of everything that we're doing and so forth. But, there are some departments we'll just need to talk to the department head. Other departments, we may need to talk to other senior management members of the department. And then there are some instances where it may be worthwhile or beneficial to talk to all employees in a department or all departments. And one of the things that we typically do as a kickoff is work closely with the manager and with the mayor to have a meeting with the department heads to let them know what the purpose and orientation of the study is. Because sometimes, the advent of us coming in, people get concerned that, they think that we're here to cut jobs and hurt people, and we're not. We're here just the opposite. If you were to go the route of a management enhancement review of how to improve operations and make their jobs better, what tools they need to help them improve their positions and functions.
I'm good.
Dave?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, Ken, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate
It was a
the,
pleasure to meet you. Thank you for the
visit,
opportunity.
and thank you for, enlightening us a little more about as to what you do and how it works, and we'll take it from there. I guess we'll have more discussion on it. This is just we're in the infancy stages of even discussing anything like this, so.
Okay, well, if there's anything that I can get for you or information I can supply to help you in your deliberation, we're more than always available.
Okay. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks.
All right. Oh, yeah, you can have it in here. Yep. Right there. All right, Mike, what else we have?
Okay. Next one is Shrewsbury River Islands.
Yes.
All of the above.
Thank you.
We had a request from the owner of basically the Green Islands that if we had any interest in acquiring them. I had preliminary discussions with him. Most of these are submerged during high tide. They're assessed for about $38,000 for all of them. I think, I wouldn't be for actually paying him for any of these, but if he wants to donate them to the township. So I told him I would bring it to the council and gauge their feelings on it.
I'm on a thread with the mayors of the two rivers, and I'm just wondering why, maybe he did go to all the other mayors with this and say, hey, because, it can't be too valuable if they want to.
Well, they're on our property, basically. I mean, I guess that part of the river, but
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they're on our property?
Well, they're assessed through us. I guess.
We've retained those islands when we broke up in 1849.
That's what I was getting at, because I see the Monmouth beaches.
So we've always owned, that's why we're on that council, because technically we're still property owners. And I remember a few years ago we gave a seaplane a permit so he can drop banners and pick them up over there.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some value in having them in our, in our tax records there. But as Mike said, not for.
No, I wouldn't buy them. You can donate them.
Yeah, if he wants to unload them because he doesn't want to pay the tax on them, that's fine. We'll take them for $1.
Okay.
We could show movies on them.
Yeah.
Concerts.
You have to get there. You have about a 2-hour window before they become submerged.
And we could float on a screen.
Yeah. You have one of those, a raft party.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Ocean back in ocean.
Yeah.
What up, Bob?
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
gonna tell you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You killed a lot of trees today.
Big day.
I titled this under the Wiccapeco building, basically. And there's been a lot of talk in the building, 'cause we're just busting at the seams here, especially with the construction department. I mean, there's nowhere else really to store anything, including the attic and pretty much every other place we have here. There's pictures involved in it too, in the back, just showing you some of what we're up against. So I wanted to bring this to your attention and give you a chance to read it. And if you would consider, once 1001 Wiccapeco is ready to go, we should use part of that building maybe to move construction and building and code down there.
Let me ask you this, and Mark, it's good that you're here, you can, our Cablevision building, what do you have there besides, you storing signs, containers, and
Not stores, that's actually
a shop?
building, a shop that we build everything you see around you.
So that thing you want to definitely keep, I was thinking, what if you moved all that over to Wiccapeco? Is that enough room?
Which the
1001.
There's no garage doors there or anything, Chris.
Gotcha.
I need trucks to go in and out because we have actually the Cablevision right now is set up perfect for what my men need. And the shop that they need for the wood shop, whether they're cabinets, whether we're fixing chairs or whatever it may be. And we have high ceilings in there. So, and we have their offices in there also.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Just something to keep in mind.
And so for this here, 1001 Wiccapeco, so now you know we're in the middle of the demo portion of it, and it's probably going to be reduced to what, about 5,000 or 6,000
Yeah.
square feet. I mean, beyond the basement, what do you need in there, Mark?
I'm sorry, in Wiccapeco?
Yeah.
If we all wanted to move the facility department there?
Well, yeah, for what we're requesting.
No,
This isn't for,
No,
this isn't for, this is
Community
for us.
development, not,
Okay,
not public
not for you.
works.
You don't need anything else there. You're good.
No, I'm good over at the Cablevision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
This is community development.
Yeah, they're just, we have nowhere left to store
For these
anything.
guys, okay.
Yeah, we're just busting at the seams. I can get a breakdown for you.
Yeah, because we had planned for them to use the basement, I thought, right?
No,
For the storage there?
no, there was some, I think we had considered the part of the building that we're actually demoing right now.
Okay.
So we're trying to make do as best we can.
Yeah, so what would he need over there, do you know?
Probably just to replicate what we have here and just act like high density storage, stuff like that. It shouldn't take up too much of it. But I'll get an exact breakdown for you.
Yes, just so we know how much of it he's gonna need, so we can know what we would plan to do with it.
Sure.
Later, because there's a bunch of things floating around that we could do, we just wanna know what we'll have left, so I know what we could do.
Right.
Okay.
Mike, was this something the state offered, we asked for?
Yeah, we had, part of this is also we had asked them for, just to look at our operations too, to see what we're at, and they gave us some recommendations in there. So I wanted to include it for everyone to look at also.
Free of charge?
Yeah.
And let me ask a technology question. How much of this stuff has to be kept and for how long? Why can't we automate it /
A lot of it, minimally 7 years. Then you have to categorize everything and then get approval from the state to actually destroy it. But I think the development plans and the building plans are a lot longer than that. They have to be kept.
And they have to be kept hard, they can't be virtualized?
Hard copies.
That's a UCC or
Yeah.
somebody's requirement?
Yes.
Thanks.
Hey, did we look any more into the white building on Whale Pond? You know which one, Marky,
The Boys Club building? building?
Yeah.
The old one?
This one over here?
The last, I heard that there was so much asbestos in there.
Yeah, we had a number,
That has to go, like,
even before we store anything, huh?
all the way down. And not only that, the basement in there is probably always in about 2 to 3 feet worth of water.
Really?
Another tree?
It's unbelievable how much water the table has come up, actually ever since we put the cell tower in there. So if you drive back there and you look on the right-hand side, it's almost a stream all the time if you're heading west. And you have the cell tower on your left.
Wow.
There's a stream on your right-hand side.
Okay.
But other than that, it's okay.
It's good.
Holy smokes. Okay.
Last item I have is the open item list. So I'll run through it real quick. Deer management, I have the draft done. I'm just trying to clean it up at this point in order to get it out, hopefully by next week. The rehab zones, the last time we spoke about this when we had T&M here, because they were in charge of it, we were going to stay the course because the economy was improving and a lot of the areas were starting to pick up at the time. Upgrade of the tree ordinance, that was on tonight. Patching of the roadway at Playa Park, I passed the map out last week for everybody, so that's on course to go. The speed bumps, we spoke about that at the last meeting also. We're allowed to do the removable strips on roads, but the traffic has to be less than 3,000 vehicles a day. And you're going to get to me whatever roads you were thinking of so we can get it to traffic and safety and look at it. Handicapped access to Fiore Funeral Home, that's something we can add to the road program and put in engineering. That was on the list. So.
No, I got a lot of complaints about that. So why would it go on the road program?
Well, I thought it was just something that needed to go, and we could put in a road program and just take care of it. If it's just something like a standalone type
Something
thing.
they need to do.
They need to do it.
No, no.
Oh,
Corey
okay. I
needs-
thought you were asking for us to do
No.
it. Oh,
Well,
okay.
I thought that was in his approval that he had.
All right.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
he's still not in
Compliance.
compliance.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, he may have been grandfathered. I don't know what the planning or zoning board
He
did.
was given a list of things, you know, and listen, we're working with them because we don't want to hurt anybody, but
Yeah.
just review the
Okay.
I know Ron looked at it, went out there.
approvals and see.
Okay.
So it's curb cuts and access from the back. You
Okay.
have to go around front, but you don't even have a curb cut to get up
Well,
the
the
ramp.
curb cut would be, the curb cut within the parking lot, you mean?
Correct.
Okay, that would be him.
Yeah.
Well, I
Right,
think
yeah,
Mike was
yes.
thought you meant the street.
I thought you meant the street.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. AV upgrades to the meeting room. We had done all that. I think we're going pretty good right now. Engineering ordinance, we have to work on that going forward. The directional signal at Monmouth and Deal Road heading north. I wasn't exactly sure what we're looking to do with that. I couldn't remember.
Left.
This way?
We're here.
So a right-hand turn single.
No, going north, we going
You
that
said
way.
going north.
Which one is this?
Going
I gave
this
you
way.
two.
Yeah, so
Monmouth and Deal.
here-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so if you're on Monmouth, right in front of the town hall here, if you're trying to make a left in the summertime, it's wild.
Okay.
You can't make that left-hand turn. So if we could put a left arrow there, it would be
Okay.
great.
Okay.
You know, even if it's just a few seconds.
Yeah. That's county
I
approval.
know it's county,
Okay.
yeah.
Before I forget, you know, the sunset going west, Sunset and Logan light. I don't know if it's intermittently out or it's out, but it's been a couple weeks.
Fixed it up.
It was? Okay. So you knew about it? Every now and then I go through it and it was okay, then
We had.
Somebody's in front of me, I'm like-
Lights that went out. One on the south side went out, the green light, and then all of a sudden one on
The other-
north side went out. So
okay, good,
fixed it up.
good, thanks.
Whose responsibility is it to know that these things are out? Does the police department call in?
That's exactly what we
Okay.
did. No, we called, we also had a little problem with the contractor that we were working with. So we wanted a new one, he was very responsive, the other guy was not. That's why that one went longer than it should.
I figure you get enough calls to know when something's out.
While we're on that topic, who's responsible for the mobile signs? I don't know what the heck you guys call them. The ones with that say the deer.
Oh, that's us.
So when they go out, we should call you.
Yeah.
'Cause they were out.
The problem is that they're solar powered.
Ah.
So they run a course, nice and sunny the next day, they charge right up. If we have several days of overcast, they get out too. But Lieutenant Gregory has worked extensively to keep the permit, and hopefully as we move forward, we kind of add some more to our resource.
Got it. All right, thank you.
They're very helpful.
Okay. Number 10, single side parking on Roosevelt. I will ask the chief to have traffic and safety look at that and recommend changes. The Playa Park cancer study, I guess we need to discuss this further to look what kind of scope we're looking for and whatnot to go forward with that. Property maintenance ordinance for lawn cutting. I thought I attached something, but I guess I forgot. I'll get that to you.
So can we go back?
Yeah.
So we're in workshop. So when are we going to discuss these? Like, I get you're giving us an update, respectfully. Are we going to wait again another 2 weeks before we discuss everything?
I'll bring it back at the next meeting if you want. I mean, we have time now if you want to talk about whatever
I
you
don't know.
want.
Do you want to stop at each? Or you want an update on each, or how do you want to do this? Because some of these things have been hanging out there for.
Yeah, I think we need to go and say, okay, we have, like number 1, we have that, now what?
Well, we don't. So when will the? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna. So when will we get it out?
Next week.
Thank you. Rehabilitation zones I'm good with. Tree ordinance were great. Patch. So it's on. So number 4 is on the road program.
Yeah.
Go. Speed bumps. You guys get any?
Yeah, so when you say less than 3,000, is that a state thing? That's our thing?
It's state.
It was state.
Okay, so the only reason I say that because Asbury has them. You probably seen them 4th Avenue and stuff, and that's kind of my cut through to Asbury. I have no idea what the volume is there. But.
Yeah, it's 4,000 or 3,000. I'm sorry, 3,000.
Okay. So does this? What do they call it? Ring road, circle road, around the wall?
Well, that's their responsibility.
So that's private.
Yeah.
That's not ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have a pretty nasty speed bump there
Yeah,
now.
2 of them. Yeah.
Axle breaker. It's not a
Yes.
speed bump.
All right.
He should really
handicap
paint
access
it
should go
bright
like that.
or something so we know.
Maybe I don't agree. So engineering ordinance. So was that going to come back up? Then were you going to? The last I remember, you were going to reintroduce it
What are we reintroducing?
for the bid going out to bid on anything over the current threshold.
That was a resolution I believe we did, correct?
Correct.
The resolution, if you want to do that, that's something that gets done every year. A resolution is only good for that time.
Right. And when I was wrong the last time, I thought you said you were going to bring it back up so we can reintroduce it.
Well, Mike, we have
don't know which one.
we have alternate engineers for bidding these projects, right?
We have alternate, yes.
Yeah, that's one. That a couple of years ago we added.
Yeah.
We need to reappoint those firms.
Need to reappoint them. I think
So
they
if
need
you
the
wanna
opportunity.
reappoint
I
them,
think they
then
need
that's
the
fine.
opportunity to be able to bid on these. I think that might be the problem. Maybe I don't know if they're getting these bids or not, or we should submit it to them. Say, hey, we're going out for roads. Well, this year I know roads went to a different vendor, but and I think that's part of what Rob's probably talking about. He'd like to see someone else maybe take a bid on, take a crack at these.
No, that was a mistake on my part.
No, I was wrong. It had expired, and I misunderstood the language in there. So I thought that anything over whatever it is,
44,000.
40,000 would go out to bid, and you respectfully made the argument that you didn't want that to happen because you get low bidders or guys lowballing it. But
Yeah, normally what we would do is on the meeting that we appoint the engineer, we'd also do the resolution to appoint the consulting engineers at the same time. You know, a different resolution, but at the same time. So if that's the direction, again, that's what we need to know so that we can put it on.
I think that's a different issue. Appointing them is one issue, and then when are you gonna, what jobs you're gonna put out for bid, I think.
I don't have anything to do with
Correct.
that.
Yes.
And Rob is concerned with. And you do that, any job over X amount of dollars, or you do that on a case-by-case basis and say, you know, this is a pretty big job, let's put this out.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, that you don't just arbitrarily put every one of them out there because, like Mike said, you're going to get the scab guy in there that's going to undercut everybody.
but
then-
again, it's not just so we're clear, it's the engine. In this case, it's the engineering piece of it, not the roads
Yeah,
themselves.
not the contractor.
Correct. Right. Okay. We're on the same page. Yeah, but again, you made, and respectfully, you made the argument that you didn't want that to happen, and
No.
you're the guy that's got to live with it. I'm fine with that. So if this is a moot point because there's nothing we can take out, and we're going to be with the engineer that we continue to renew each year, then that's fine. But we also are, hopefully, and we'll get to the email you sent with regard to professional services. Are we going to get on that 3-year schedule for all of the professional services?
That's up to the council. That's you tell me if that's what you want, because those appointments are your appointments.
Right. So so yes, I'd like to see a regular 3-year out to bid for professional services.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Depends on which ones you're talking about.
So how about we do this, and I'm fine with that too. Can we put a list of all the professional services contracts and we can decide
Check
which
off
ones?
the ones, because again, I think Marty outlined a good letter, and a lot of it was that a lot of these guys that we appoint to some of these positions are folks who are from Ocean, been in Ocean a long, long time, have an intimate relationship with the town, know the town very well, and historically, like you said, you had the Dennis Crawfords and you had the certain judges, and we still have that now, guys that live in town, vested in town, and like to keep those guys with those jobs. I think there's something to that. There's merit to that, having those folks working in the town and having those positions as opposed to just wholesaling every single one of those appointments. I just don't think that's the way to go, to wholesale out every single one of those. Now, on the other hand, some of the ones where I think like you're on to the engineering, where we're paying our engineers $200,000 a year to put together bid estimates, that's something maybe you should look at.
Right. And accounting, I mean, there's a long list.
Yeah.
So,
The final list of the list.
right.
We have an audit. We have auditor, an annual audit.
Right.
I don't know,
To Ken's
things
point,
like that. But.
I'm quoting him, just because we're doing it that way doesn't mean we should continue to do it that way.
No, and that's exactly why I thought it was interesting in having somebody like that, because, right, over the years, someone's handed a playbook to the next guy, and the town's evolved beyond that playbook. And maybe it's time for somebody to take a look and say, hey, good playbook, add this, don't add that. Oh, that's all really I was looking at to say to do.
Right.
But, right,
All right.
good segue
Good.
into that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, so Monmouth Road, you're on number 10.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the traffic and safety
Got
if
it.
they can do a study
11,
on that. I'm just thinking now the Playa Park study. I'll set something with the Regional Health Commission too, because that may be something that they can do, and they might have the resources to look into that.
John, you live it, and it's been on my list. Is it resolved?
Well, no, here's what it was. Here's where we left off. And it was
what we were going to do is some testing.
some soil samples,
Right.
but you have to be specific as to what you're looking for, because that's an endless.
10,000
But
different.
there's 10,000
Right.
tests you can do. And
So
you can
maybe
narrow it down to.
Monmouth County can
Okay.
say,
Yeah.
do these 4 tests. You should be covered based on the. I don't know. Maybe they'll say that,
Okay.
and that's what you're looking for. Then you can direct Greg Blash to conduct that study, bring somebody in, get
We were
this.
trying to get it narrowed down to what we could test.
Cool.
Okay.
Good answer.
Line painting. The roads we do in the road program, we reline, and I hope I'm not speaking out of school, but I think Public Works actually has a list when they reline roads too. If there's anything that are glaring that you know of, just let me know, and we'll get those relined also.
So is that done? I'm assuming it's done as a contract to somebody that would do it, as opposed to onesie twosies when they're needed. You don't? Do you do them?
No, the Public Works Department itself does not do that.
Got it,
I go
okay.
out and I get basically a linear footage, put it out for pricing. Once I get all the pricing, I'll take whoever it is and then go over each road, over each intersection that needs to get redone.
So
And I always use thermoplasty, so it's not just paint.
got it. So you have a list currently?
My predecessor did not
Yeah, I
have
can
a
say
list.
it's been a few years, but I worked extensively with our traffic bureau and former director Crochet. A long, lengthy list that we put together back in 2016.
Of roads that need restriped.
I
Yeah,
mean, look,
I got a few emails. I just can't find them. I
Yeah,
want to dig them out.
I'm sure you're all familiar with the ones that I'm talking about, and they're now worse than they were when we
Right.
first looked at them.
Yes.
So this has to, I know some of that money comes out of the road program, but also it takes a period of time, as you know, striping lays in the waiting, and I think that Mark will coordinate, having some other stuff done another way monetarily, be a good idea.
Can we put it, so to your point, Mike, the roads that are in the road program get the striping?
Correct.
Can you add, I think what you're saying, Chief, is can you add that to the road program even if it's not a road that's getting paved?
Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to tip the
Yeah,
scales.
we have
on
to
the cost.
carve out
Right.
X amount of money to say, hey, we want to also finish up the stripe in 40
I would
grand a
love to-
year
I
or
mean-
whatever it is.
Mark will price out all the linear footage that we come up with after we do the road,
Right.
and then it's a matter of what's that gonna cost.
Just
And then we
emailed me a couple
prioritize
roads, I forgot.
really the main roads
Sure.
first.
Yeah.
Some streets, and now we tell the residents all the time, but we have to start with the main roads.
Right.
Then we move back.
And there's enough main roads that need it.
Yeah, so.
Okay, cool.
I'll look into budgeting for more striping for the budget season now.
Perfect.
Just
Thank you.
outside the road program, so we can get
Outside
these
my
hot- so we can hit these hot spots sooner than later.
Perfect. Thank you.
Captain?
Right, last meeting, have a list that we were talking about, based on the previous.
Okay.
road work meetings. There's-
We'll check with Greg then and see if he has the most recent list.
Thank you.
The status of the flume on the Deal Lake Commission, that flume,
Yeah.
that's almost complete. I think we're just, I'm sorry.
Saturday, I believe it's done.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Mike, Don Brockle stopped in either yesterday or today. He wants to set up a time where he can come to a workshop and explain what's going on and how it's working and everything.
Thank
So,
you.
just whatever fits the schedule.
Okay. 15, the Recreation Department refunds. I had talked to Steve Gallagher, and he had scheduled or come up with a process to fix it, and it seemed to work fine. I mean, our complaints went down dramatically. So I don't know if there's any other complaints you've received since then.
Is it still 4 to 5 weeks?
No, not at all. And we haven't received any other complaints.
Cool. Thank you.
Shade Tree Commission replanting plan. Unless that's part of the tree
Didn't
ordinance,
sound like it.
we haven't gotten it yet.
Any luck? From, I know you were going to ask last meeting. I don't know if you got to it.
I don't think we got, so we didn't have another meeting yet, so
Okay.
I'll ask the next.
Cool. Thanks, Marge.
17, West Park and Poplar, no right on red. It's a county intersection, and Poplar Road is actually considered the access road for 18 from the state. And from living by there, I mean, restricting that is really going to back up the road. But if it's something that you really want to look into, we can request it.
Was that mine?
Yeah.
Was that on mine?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was a no right on red. I think it was a same as Monmouth having the ability to make a left. I don't know what I sent you, Vince, but
I'll let you know.
I think they can now, can't they?
You can, yeah. I mean,
with a light.
no, there's no light, but
Oh.
you can go. I mean, but if there's any, if you're just
Who's
restricting
you?
it,
Lynn Drive? There's not that many people that
right?
be restricting you from making that left, because the only other opposing traffic's Lynn Drive.
Yeah,
And what, there's 3 cars coming at you?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's...
Rob, no right on red, Poplar and West Park Avenue.
I don't remember that one. All right.
I don't know if the list is bad.
Yeah, that one's. Yeah,
Number
that.
17 is bad.
But while I'm on that topic, how about Deal and Poplar to be able to have arrows?
Yeah, we can request it. We could say. Because they should be getting done with construction in the next week or so and paving. So, okay.
Thank you. That's the one I thought it was.
18, pre-prepared requirements on all permits and projects.
Please explain. So
Yes.
when Ron came and when one of the things that we talked about, guys and ladies, keep me honest, was somebody walks up for a
Hard to
pool
do.
permit. What do I need?
Yeah, just hand. Okay.
But literally from A to Z and what needs to happen, because while it's been a lot less since Ron got here, there are still people that say, I go back, I hand them this, and then they tell me I need this. And it's, am I still right on that, folks?
Yes, that hasn't changed.
So, just here's what you need, here's the, and I went for a permit the other day and pretty much got what I needed, but it was a simple one. So,
They saw you coming, Rob.
yeah, she was good.
You're supposed to put on that Groucho nose and glasses.
I had the mask on, I didn't think they recognized me.
Number 19, the The website fees, we'll take care of that. We'll update everything.
Thank you.
Letters to residents for surveying on property. I spoke with Greg at length about this. He said it is actually not on anyone's property in the right of way, but just please notice the property owner so they know.
Right.
And he said he would take care of it.
I haven't gotten a complaint since,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if he's been out since.
He has, yeah.
Good. All right.
Quality of Life Committee.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
That was one you were going to bring back.
We had one years ago. I had a group. It was the right. Kind of, I guess you can say Quality of Life Committee, but kind of citizens of gracious community. And we had meetings for about a year, and people would come up, and it basically was an ad hoc group that had suggestions as far as enhancements. But I don't know. I kind of think we have that pockets of them semi-organized already that are coming at us with. You have the Laura over there in Colonial Terrace. You have other folks.
Mr.
Like,
Lefferson requested it back again.
Yes.
is that what it
how
was?
it's- Yeah. And you,
I mean, if somebody wants to pick it up, I mean, I sat there, I chaired the thing for a year. If another council member would like to sit there and chair a meeting once a month and see if there's any interest and put a feeler out to members, I'll give you the, the old playbook, if you will, and that's up to you guys if you want to do that.
I just wanted to know where it was, so if we can have that conversation.
That's where it kind of died its own death, really. People stopped coming, and I guess they felt we were doing things anyway. We're moving in the right direction, and but every 20 years you get that and a renewed interest, and maybe you can invite people in to have a meeting if they want to be on an advisory board or something like that. We could explore doing something else like that it's a little more, something that's going to grow into something more meaningful than just a complaint group.
Instead of Facebook.
Yeah, instead of Facebook blowing up, we can have people come in and say, we had these suggestions for the town. We gave them to the mayor and council, and they brought them to the environmental commission, or they brought them to the shade tree commission, or whatever. We can certainly ask for an advisory board. I know a lot of people are interested in getting involved in that way. How much so, I don't know, once they see that, you need them to meet 7 o'clock on a Tuesday and see if they can pull it off. But I'm all for reopening that and exploring it again. I just think I need help from the council to maybe alternate chair these meetings so it's not just one person doing it.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, right. I can probably give you the read on what's topical there. Here's what's happening in the Wayside. Here's what some of the folks are concerned with. Here's Colonial Terrace seems very active and very organized themselves. So I kind of think they have a plan and moving on their own inertia over there. But everybody else, maybe. So we'll see.
We could put something on the website asking for people in the town if they want to be volunteers and see what kind of response we
your
get.
input counts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something like that. We can do that.
Cool.
Monmouth and Roosevelt left turn arrow. I don't know how we do that. That road is so narrow as it is, unless we took property from either side, and the county would have to approve that. I mean, it does get backed up, making the left off of Monmouth to Roosevelt, but
I think Chief and Todd will agree with me that when you have those narrow roadways and there's one lane each way and it's a very busy, congested intersection, no matter what you do is going to back it up more anyway, right? If you put a left arrow there, now you're just delaying that light change and traffic's building on the other side and you're waiting.
You just split sequencing where Monmouth Road southbound would have the green, the other side, left, and stay there.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Outside the flow, and hopefully clear up some of that problem.
Something you can do seasonal or something that's a permanent thing?
Probably permanent.
What's- I mean, is it possible to do it just seasonal, or is it like a mechanism that has to be on?
It would be an adjustment to the existing.
Yeah. Because when our problem is May to October, man.
They do have radar on some of those, like the highway cameras disappeared and they replaced them with radar that do sense traffic volume at the intersection.
Mm-hmm.
You can adjust accordingly. So it's possible. it would be seasonal per se, it would just be.
Yeah, well, that's, right, if as long as it's adjusted that way, that's fine too.
Correct, but, a lot of times the county, if they're gonna upgrade an intersection for a request, they would want us to sign.
We gotta pay for it. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, we dealt with them enough, and we know where they're at with that. Yeah, but look into it and see if you think that'll help, because that's a tight, either way, it's a no-win proposition there right now. I tell you, living here all my life, I avoid that stretch there all summer, and I get around fine.
You gotta remember when it was flashing like that.
Yeah. And well, West Park in Monmouth too. That was a flashing light. And then somebody be coming out of the OB, and then you didn't see him. Right, Dave? Remember those old days?
No.
Me neither. Good thing. All right.
Last one way on Harnell. I'll ask traffic and safety to look at it, see what they have to say.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Quick follow-up question. One meeting, couple meetings ago, we talked about the little free library in West Allenhurst. Did anyone follow up with that group?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of a closing comment, I know we were here tonight. We heard Ken talk, which was good.
Is anybody listening on this?
Yeah, we're taped. You might as well come up, because
Okay.
we'll take the mic and sit down.
Yeah, all right. Anyhow,
Nobody's
yeah.
on. All right, Chief. We're good.
So obviously listening to Ken speak tonight from the company was good. I like your position, Mayor, as looking at the township in total and not just targeting the police department. We did have.
It was just a target. It was just.
I know, but our concern
Yeah,
was
and I got how you
we
guys
never really
felt
got a
tonight.
why. But if
Yeah.
you're looking at the whole town, then we're certainly open to that.
Right.
We did take a real hard look at the Lawn Branch study that Ken spoke about, and then we pulled out our 2019 accreditation report, and lo and behold, don't you know, they look very similar. But ours certainly was much nicer to read. And you pointed something out very important tonight, is Ocean is unique. It is. And it's not only with just the police department, it's just that the town as a whole and how we do things, and we're very hard to compare to other municipalities, as you pointed out. I couldn't agree with that more. But what I'd like to do is, I know it probably went out last June when we got the third accreditation. I would like to, if it's okay with you guys, I have the report in electronic form. It's 20, 40 pages, whatever. Not a hard read, but if you also, I know that you had a chance to look at, if you didn't, look at the Lawn Branch police study. And I think it will help answer the questions that some of the council members have on accreditation and a police study, you know, one versus the other. And, you know, I mean, our only concern is, why would we want to do that when we really do go through this intensive accreditation? Not to take anything away from Lawn Branch, they're a good police department. They're not accredited yet, they're working on it. They're working on a lot of things. So their situation there is way different than Ocean. I always like to say it was apples versus bowling balls. You know.
Oh, I agree. It's a total different setting.
You know, like I said, I welcome the overall management study, because that's a fair way to take a look at things. And we're really happy. I was actually happy to hear you say that tonight. And if there's anything else I can provide, I'm more than welcome to do it. I know with the COVID, it's been tough. We always invite any council member, you know, we coordinate with the manager to come down and see what's going on. It's a great thing. You know, we're running, we got 2 promotionals going on right now, sergeant and lieutenant. We're in the hiring phase, so we're rocking and rolling every day. And of course, we're dealing with everything out on the street. But I just want to say I appreciate that perspective of it, as opposed to just the police department. That certainly helps us feel like, you know, we're working along here in the right direction, and I appreciate that. So.
Yeah, if you want to get that report to us,
yeah,
that would help.
Yep, absolutely.
Assuage a lot of the questions that some of the newer members may have. Look, I've been around for that before.
Yeah, and
I'm just
I think
throwing
that's
these things out for some of these
a
folks as ideas. What I'm not going to be here forever. You know what I mean? As mayor, hopefully longer to play golf, but not as mayor.
Right.
But, and I think the younger members, if they won't continue to go on, maybe they want to get a new playbook and see, or have somebody else look at how the total operations of the town.
Right, and you'll see too. We
not
also
the
have.
way we were in 1995.
Right.
It's 2020.
And just
What's
this perspective of the police department too. Again, looking at the Lawn Branch study to talk about strategic planning, we were really an early department in having strategic planning going back as far as 2013. We actually just revised our plan out to 23. Again, I will be happy through the manager to get that to you, you know, real basic stuff, but it tells you where we're going and what we've been doing. And, you know, maybe answer the questions that some of the council members might have, you know, in reference to this whole study issue. But again, I do appreciate what was said tonight and your position on, you know, the whole township being looked at, and very fair, and we're certainly open to that.
Good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. I have a question. So what is the accreditation cost township, the police accreditation?
All right, it's about $5,000.
$5,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that basically is what you get is every 3 years we're studied again by them, making sure that we're meeting certain criteria. It really is a pretty unbiased look, because they're not just, look, if there's something wrong, they're going to tell you, and they have in the past. When we first did it, which was our first undertaking in 2013, I got to tell you, it was an eye-opener, so to speak, as far as reorganizing things and getting the facility squared away and certain things with our procedures and policies. Now today I look back, I look at the 13 report compared to today, and I'm like, wow, you know, we really made some strides over those years, and we certainly are in our third accreditation, now almost halfway to our fourth accreditation. So a lot going on, a lot to maintain. You know, again, I just reflect back on the Long Branch study, because if you look at some of the issues that were brought up there, they are unique to that municipality. They are not Ocean Township to any stretch of the means. And I think it's fair for you, if you read that, you read our accreditation report, you look at our strategic plan, you know, for whatever reason, I don't think that anybody feels differently about us, but at least it'll reaffirm what I've been trying to say since July 14th, you know, when this all started coming up. But tonight, it was good to hear what you said. I think I'm bringing that back to the membership so that, you know, we're all on the same page here. And, you know, hopefully you guys will discuss it and decide if a management enhancement survey is a good idea. But we're open to it.
I just have one last question. How many departments in Monmouth County are accredited, if you have that information?
Yeah, that was easy. When I remember, we were the 7th in 2013 out of 47 departments. Today, I think they're probably around, I want to say close to 20 of 47. But you know what? That's an easy stat to grab, which I could give to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I remember you saying it was about maybe 30% of the state.
Yeah,
so
yeah, right.
125 departments.
You're
out
right,
of
and that was I remember when they came to give us the award, they said that those percentages were still
32%.
on the low end, and in today more than ever, you know, for whatever reason, it's certainly something that benefits not only the police department but the municipality.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Can you piggyback if you are going to get that? So,
Wait,
I think I asked him how many went back to back and how many had 3 in a row.
Oh, that you see that's that I don't know, but
Okay.
it's as if you remember when they came in here to make a presentation, not too many.
Right. I thought
And he said statewide, not just Monmouth County.
Right.
So that's good. I mean, we really have that under our belts too.
And this is, refresh my memory, what's the organization? Is it the
It's
Chiefs of
the
Police?
it's the State Chiefs Organization,
That's what I thought.
Police Accreditation Commission, which is not exactly them, but it's a commission that they oversee that makes sure that we meet all the standards and that things are done objectively, so forth and so on.
And I'm sorry, last question. So 5,000. So every police department doesn't necessarily apply for that, or is it a requirement?
No, there's no requirement to do it. It's
Okay.
completely voluntary.
Got it.
That's probably why you don't have that many that actually do it. I don't necessarily think it's a cost. It's just a huge undertaking. But now it's become a mainstay for us. And not only just at the command level, but I mean across the whole department. You really could ask any officer in the street right now what accreditation was. In 2013, they probably couldn't tell you much. Today, boom, they all rattle it off. You know, so it's a culture here we've built over the last several years, and it's certainly been very beneficial. And I think as much as we went through in June 28th, a lot of that and how we came out of that was because of accreditation. So it was nice to know that all that hard work paid off. So
thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for showing up.
All right. Good night.
Appreciate it. Anything else we have on there? Was the last one we did that?
Yeah, we did.
Nope. All right. Anybody before we go into close have anything? No? Yes, Jack.
First of all, I'd like to thank the council and the departments in the municipality for all they've continued to do with all this mess going on with COVID and all this other stuff. And the speaker that you had here today talking about an enhancing operation, I think is well worth your thinking about. It's hard to look at yourself and figure out what's wrong with you. So you need some outside look at, and unbiased. And by the way, they seem like they would bring maybe some ideas that they learned about someplace else that might be of value here. So I think, my view, it's worth the effort to go further with that. So Enhancer would get a plus from me. I appreciate what you've done with the sound system here. The first meeting I was at, it was a real ripple effect the whole night long. I couldn't even follow it, but you've done some marvelous things there. The tree thing has to be fixed. It really, really does. It's out of hand. The original idea was good, was to protect the trees and so forth. But when I talk to somebody and they say, well, they're taking trees down because they don't like raking the leaves in the fall, that bothers me. Or when I see a guy cutting a tree down and I say, why are you cutting my tree down? And he says to me, this is my tree. And I said, no, it's providing my air, my water, my everything to me too, not just you. I think that's, and by the way, the message here should get to the people in a broader way. The dog thing especially. You want to do something with Playa Park or wherever you do it, I think you'd have the town behind you, or at least you'd find out why they're not if they were. And I think that's an important thing. This is a different kind of a town than you'll find in other places. And I've come to really live it and love it, and that's about it. The quality of life issue, I think that's worth doing. Getting some feedback from the people, in the grassroots. Whether you do it monthly, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe quarterly. Maybe you have it once a year. I don't know. But I think it's worth doing because this is a community of gracious living, as it says right behind you, Mayor. That's all I got today. I got to get going.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Can you hear me with this? Yeah, okay. Anybody else? Will we go into closed session? All right, thank you guys all for being here. We're going to close out and get into our closed session. Very long meeting. Okay, everybody, so we're all here. Everybody ready?
Everybody's got to talk into the mics so Tommy Rue can pick you up.
All right, Tom, we're getting ready to roll here. We're going to call the meeting of October 22, 2020 to order. Ben, take the roll call, please.
Sure. Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Here.
Council members Achara.
Here.
Donlin.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Here, we're going to stand for a pledge of allegiance. And please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. Tonight, we're going to remember our friend and fellow board member, Steve Levy. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The notice requirement for the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press, Coaster, posted in Town Hall, and was filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk on December 30, 2019. For those who are here, this is a hybrid meeting. There are two exits, one to the back of the room over there to my left, which will take you out to the side parking lot, and then one to my right here, which takes you out to the main doors and out to the parking lot as well. We asked anybody in attendance to please turn down your cell phone or mute it. If you need to make a call, kindly go out into the hallway. You can make your call out there. We tape and we record these meetings, and that ambient noise and the interference with our audio is a problem. Okay, at this time, before we get started on our regular agenda, I'm going to ask the council members if they have anything for us.
No report.
Okay, thank you, Marge.
Yeah, so next week, October 31st, is the public cleanup from the Deal Lake Commission meeting at the boat ramp in Asbury Park by the 7-Eleven in the morning. There's an online sign up. Bring gloves if you have them. Social distance, wear a mask. The second thing is Halloween is coming up next week. There's a house decorating contest. All the information's on the township website. The plan is to drive through using a map that you can download from the website between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. The website is www.driveyoubaddy.com. That's drive you BATTY. And the third thing is elections coming up in 2 weeks, but please mail in your ballot or bring it to the drop box in front of Town Hall before then so we can get in on time.
Great, thank you, Mark. Dave?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as the council member serving on the planning board, I do want to offer condolences for Steve Levy, our sitting council planning board member. I do also want to tell you that there is no planning board meeting scheduled for next week, so we'll resume schedule following month.
Great, thank you. Rob?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Marty?
Actually, while we were sitting here, I got an email, and sadly, I don't know how many of you know him, but Judge Bob O'Hagan from Ocean Township passed away.
Wow.
Judge, before he was a judge, was an attorney with his office on Route 66 in Ocean Township. The original attorney for the Ocean Township Business Professional Association. I then took his place when he became a judge in the Chamber of Commerce. Terrific guy.
Yeah, thank you. Mike?
I'd just like to wish my son Michael a happy birthday. Today's his birthday.
Okay, Michael,
18.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Mike.
birthday, Michael. I'm just going to follow up again and expound a little bit on Steve Levy. He was a former neighbor of mine way back in the day on Dwight Drive. And a guy I met walking the dog, and he seemed like a very reasonable, nice guy. And of course, he was a nice guy. He was a salesman, so he had that personality. And so, but Steve was always the voice of reason, somebody that you can bounce an idea off of. We have an audio problem? Okay, so thank you for Marty.
Turn
It's
it
not
over.
going on.
Gotta go to the bottom.
Turn it
We'll go to
over. Push
Excuse
to
me,
mute.
folks.
There
Yeah,
you
just
go.
have a quick audio fix here. Good?
Okay, now I'm on.
Now you're on.
Now you're on?
All right, let me just repeat then, while you're going with Mr.
Sure.
Levy, that while we were sitting here, I got the announcement that Judge Bob O'Hagan passed away. And Judge O'Hagan was he had his offices before he became a judge on Route 66 in Ocean Township. He was the attorney creating the Ocean Township Business and Professional Association. When he became a judge, I took his place, and that became the chamber. Just a good guy, and he'll be sorely missed.
Thank you. Mike? Was your mic on?
I think my mic was on.
Yours
Okay.
was.
Back
It was just
to,
but Margie might want to repeat.
Oh, Margie did.
Margie, you
When
have
I'm
to-
done, I'll let Margie repeat.
Alright.
How's that?
Okay,
'Cause I
perfect.
think we're in the middle of. So anyway, Steve Levy, a guy that got involved many years ago in the township issues, and he was a very pragmatic guy, voice of reason, somebody you can talk to, and he didn't have an axe to grind. He was just a good soul, somebody that just was very sensible. So we wind up appointing him to the planning board, which he did a great job for years. Steve sat on there and listened to applications. He's a very valued member of a fully volunteer board. We thank all those folks that do that. So we're going to miss Steve. His wife Ruthie's sitting Shiva, I think, right through till tomorrow. There's no tomorrow night, of course, Shiva, just in the mornings. You can look online and find the time. So our condolences again to Ruthie, the family. We're going to miss Steve. He was a voice of reason on the planning board, just a really all-around good guy and a great member of the community. So thank you, Steve, for your service, wherever you may be now. Margie, you want to repeat your...
Can you hear me now? Oh, okay, you can, okay. So I just mentioned that the Deal Lake Commission public cleanup is scheduled for October 31st. The meetup place is the boat ramp in Asbury Park across from the 7-Eleven. On the morning, there's an online sign up, bring gloves, wear masks, and social distance. The second thing is there's a townwide house decorating contest. There's about 40 houses signed up. You can download a map of the houses and then drive through on October 31st between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. The website for the map is on the website, township website. It's www.driveyoubaddy.com. And the third thing is elections coming up in 2 weeks. Don't forget to drop off your ballot in the ballot box in front of Town Hall or mail it in.
Got it? Okay. Thank you.
Can I just say something about the election?
Sure.
That's coming up? Just to let people know, I got a letter yesterday basically saying my ballot was not accepted, and I had to go in today to verify my signature. Hopefully, get your votes in, whoever you're voting for. Vote in early, so if there's a problem, they can get the, and you can make it.
Time you mentioned vote, we get an interference. That's voter suppression. It's Vinny, the tinfoil hat that you made is not working. All right, before we start our meeting, I just wanted to say one more thing that Margie mentioned about our spectacular event on the 31st. We just did wind down our last concert series also there at the park. So we had about 6 concerts, drive-in tailgate concerts, and as many movies. And we plan on doing that again next year. So we will put a schedule together, a list, take some input from you, the public, as to what events you'd like to see. We're going to try to get as many free events there as possible with the generosity of our sponsors. We just didn't want to lean on them too much this year because it's a tough year for everybody. But nonetheless, we still had guys step up. Middlebrook at Monmouth, Shrewsbury stepped up, Volkswagen stepped up for us. Gino, thank you again. And a few other guys just were always willing to help us out. So we really thank them for that. It made the events a lot more pleasurable and affordable to everybody. Okay, we're going to move on from that. Enough about it. The purpose of the public portion is to solely ask questions and understand resolutions that appear on the agenda and not an occasion for a public hearing on an ordinance. All questions not related to an item on the agenda should be asked during the public comments portion at the end of the meeting. Right now, we have the consent agenda in minutes. Does anybody have anything in regards to our consent agenda or resolutions, not something, topic that you want to discuss later? No? Okay, seeing or hearing no one. Rob, would you offer the consent agenda and the resolutions, please?
I'd be happy to. Motion to move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thanks, Steve.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Councilmembers Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, resolutions 2181 through, page, then, thank you. 2188. Rob, would you offer, please? Second?
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Councilmembers Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, and for individual action, we have 2189, authorize the purchase of an International HV 507 hook lift truck for the use of the Department of Public Works from Mid-Atlantic Truck Center at a cost not to exceed $234,611.90. Marge, would you offer, please?
I'll offer.
Don, second?
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Councilmembers Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, 2190, authorize the purchase of a Chevrolet Tahoe by the use of the police department from Hendricks Fleet Service at a cost not to exceed $36,217. John, please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Councilmembers Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, resolutions 2191, authorize the tax collector to issue a refund to All Ahead Title LLC due to the overpayment of the third quarter 2020 tax payment for block 2515, lot 51. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Thank you. Second?
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Councilmembers Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes. 2192, authorize Chapter 159 budget amendment for the following U.S. Department of Justice, 2019 Bulletproof Vest Program, $2,978.93, and the 2020 Bulletproof Vest Grant for $3,432. Someone offer?
I'll offer.
Second?
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Councilmembers Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
So for introduction tonight, we have 2 ordinances, or 3? Okay, that's for adoption, right?
It just doesn't.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ben.
That's why I put the note on there.
Straighten me out. So you never do this without your glasses. It's like tightrope without a net. Anyway, Marge is going to offer the introductions. So we have for tonight ordinance 2344. Ben, would you read the title, please?
Ordinance amending ordinance 1665 to provide certain incentives for active volunteers of our first aid squad and fire companies.
I'd like to offer an introduction for ordinance 2344.
Second?
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Councilmembers Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes, and that'll have its public hearing on November 5th meeting. Also for introduction, ordinance 2345. Ben, would you read the title?
An ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the revised general ordinances to prohibit parking along portions of Beechwood Avenue.
I'd like to introduce ordinance 2345 for introduction.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Councilmembers Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Sosiano.
Yes. At this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Anybody who has any questions, anything germane to Ocean Township, you can either log in or step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. If you're logging in, you need to also state your name and address for the record. Yes, we see somebody from the audience. We recognize Mr. Sullivan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Edward Vincent Colleen Frederick Sullivan. I reside at 721, well, not now, but soon, hopefully, 721 Corley's Avenue in West Allenhurst. I just kind of wanted to say, generally, we're hoping to get back. Father PJ said I should be a man of peace and not hold any animosity, so I truly don't. We're just, thank God, the work that the property was condemned for has been passed, so we're very pleased about that. I have to say, there was a wonderful lack of delays. You know, I have to kind of commend. I thought I would have more problems. It has taken me a little longer than I had hoped because it is difficult to obtain financing on a condemned property. And that's what has caused a delay. You know, when you can't get home, it's like buying a car. You can't get homeowners insurance on a condemned property, and then you can't get a loan, any mortgage type loan, without homeowners insurance. So we were in a catch-22, but God provided. You know, I'm currently residing at, a nice trailer in Green Acres, and this just came. And you find out who your friends are. So, well, I hope, you're one of them, and we hope to be back. It'll be Michael, Joanne, her kids, and myself. We are going to follow the rules, because actually you guys won, in a sense. But I don't hold malice. We just want to get back in our home. So
Great.
We wish you all well.
Good.
No hard feelings. God bless you.
Thank you. And good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Anybody else have anything from the public? You have to unmute yourself and speak up. I see Mr. Sharp unmuted. Mr. Sharp, are you with us?
In your absence last, let's see, this is Scott Sharp, working at 3 Sunset in Wanamassa. In your absence last week, I asked the question for an update as to the status of the master plan development. As nobody really had a status at that time, they deferred to this week. Mr. Musillo sent me an email to the next day because a related question I had was, since the planning board is the responsible organization to develop a master plan, I was asking that planning board, could they add an agenda item similar to the way the council operates, so that at the end of their meetings there would be an opportunity for the public to ask questions not related to any activity or plan before the board, but purely to ask questions such as the master plan. The answer I got back was, the key word that I guess came from Mr. Kirk and or the board was, it is their discretion to prohibit any public questioning on subjects like this. And I find that, I replied to Mr. Musillo that I just don't quite understand that. It's not related to COVID because we have virtual meetings, so there's no people going to be piled into the meeting room. So I would like a response from the council as to the schedule and plans for the development of the master plan. B, did anybody on the council read the letter I sent several weeks ago, which recommended that the council and the township utilize the Monmouth County Planning Board procedures document for how we develop a master plan, and C, what's wrong with the planning board not doing like other towns and having a opportunity for public input at the conclusion of their meetings, just as our town council does.
Okay, valid questions, and before I get to that, Marty, so why wouldn't, I mean, I know we would have a public hearing on, for the council when we have the master plan, but why wouldn't the planning board have a Q&A session?
Well, they may have it when the master plan gets adopted. I'm not exactly sure, but they may have the hearing on the master plan, and people will be able to ask questions. But they don't have a general Q&A following the meeting, and frankly...
Right. Shut your mic off, Marty. Use mics.
Use mic off. I'm sorry, Mr. Scott. I'll get with you in a second. I think it's his mic is the culprit.
You're blaming me.
You can hold that down here if you want.
Is this on?
Yeah.
There's nobody
Just
else.
put it. You got to put it in front of your
You can
mouth.
have that on your desk. Okay.
I don't know if you should.
No, it's not on.
You know what? I love modern technology.
Okay.
All right. So generally, planning boards do not have a Q&A following a meeting. I was the attorney for Long Branch. They've never had a Q&A. I've appeared in other planning boards. They didn't have a Q&A typically. As it relates...
Marty, Mr. Sharp, let's stop on the first question. Does it help if I send you references of other towns in New Jersey who do? Just because you don't do them for the past 40 years, that the times do change. So I understand you're not the planning board attorney, but you're speaking for them now. So a plan from 40 years ago does not necessarily make it right now.
Okay, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just telling you that both in Ocean Township, in Long Branch, and in other towns I've appeared before the planning board, that's not the practice. Whether there are towns that do that, there may be. But ultimately, it's up to the planning board to determine how they're going to operate their meetings, not the council. So they're, as I've said many times, they're an independent, autonomous body, and they decide what their rules are. Not the council doesn't dictate to them the rules.
Hey, Scott, what, just out of curiosity.
And I have another question before you come back, Rob. I have asked them, and there's no way to communicate even a question to them because they won't even take a question.
Well, I think you can direct a question, not necessarily at a meeting, but direct a question, which apparently you've done, I guess, to both Ron Kirk and also to the attorney Sandy Brown, and ask them if they would consider making such a change to their rules. And take a general question and answer session.
Right.
And their response was no, because they don't feel like it. And, you know, I'm saying that I think that's incorrect. And so I guess you're telling me, since you're an attorney, that my only recourse is to take them to court to listen to the public?
No, we don't have to do that, Mr. Scott, Mr. Sharp. Mr. Sharp, I'm sorry. Here's the thing, and I'm asking Marty on your behalf and for my own edification. On a document like this, though, Marty, it's not like we do this every meeting. It's a master plan review by the planning board. Then it comes to us to codify or to adopt. Is that correct? Or we create? I just think, I'm not trying to make any more work for them, but the public maybe should ask a few questions. It's a master plan. It's not a simple application, or it's a deck or a fence. Or it's
no, I understand that. I think as
May
it relates
to point on that, Mayor.
Wait, let me
Mr.
just
Sharp,
Mr.
Mr. Sharp, you have to stop and let them answer your question. So please sit back until they're done answering.
And I apologize because I'm not on the camera, which is probably a good thing for everybody else. But I think that for the master plan, that may be open to comments from the public.
Right.
I think what Mr. Sharp is saying is not just the master plan, but in general, that there should be a Q&A period at the end of each meeting, like you have for issues to come before us, just like we're doing right now. They're not obligated to do that. if you want to send me the towns that do that, I'll gladly look at those. You want to send it with a copy going to the planning board attorney, fine, you can do that, and Ron Kirk. But
well, I get that part, because it's really, the procedures are the applicant has the duty of notifying the contiguous owners, and if it's anybody has a problem with it, they can object during the public comments portion. But to just go into Q&A, I understand that part. I was totally focused on this question about the master plan.
But on the master plan, I think when that's presented to the board, I think the public does have an opportunity. I'm not positive about this, but I think they would have an opportunity to raise issues or have questions.
Mr. Short?
And certainly.
Okay, then.
But I don't, you can't bet on that, but I'm.
All right, let me hear what
thinking.
Mr. Sharp has to say.
Yes, I looked at the law, and indeed, they have to have a public hearing on the master plan before it comes forward. Take public comment. That's kind of standard procedure.
Right.
Marty, I guess since you're doing most of the talking for the council tonight, I will at least bring to your attention the fact that Long Branch, your close affiliate organization, has had 2 open public forums on their master plan development. They were public, they were virtual, so at least they gave the public the opportunity to give input to the city of Long Branch as they enter their process to develop a master plan. So it's not unheard of.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Sharp, I was the attorney for several years for the Long Branch Planning Board. We didn't have a general Q&A. In terms of the master plan, frankly, in Ocean Township, I was the planning board attorney. Most of the time when they're doing the review of the master plan, up until now, the public never was there asking questions. But if they're there asking questions, you may be right. I'm not sure what the status is in Long Branch as to whether or not that was before the planning board or that was before the council. What are you saying? The hearings in Long Branch.
If I recall, this was before I would hate to make a promise on that, but I've listened in on 2 of them. And so they may have been with their council, but I know planning board were present at the time. And all they did was allowed the public to give some inputs on what kind of priorities they would set for the future of their town. And that's all. I'm not trying to start a fight with Marty Arbus here.
Well, I don't think I'm fighting with you. I think we're having a discussion.
The point is that the public, the master plan doesn't come around except every 10 years. Towns could do it more frequently, but what town has the time and money to do so? So they come around every 10 years. It's an important document if people were to be familiar with the content of a complete master plan. So all I'm recommending is make it so that the town is transparent with the public and receptive to possibly listening to the public of what the public inputs might be on priorities going forward. That may be on traffic, or that may be on parks, whatever. What's important to the public, not what's important to the planning board attorney or the planning board members. They are supposed to be responsive to the township, taxpayers, citizens. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm not disagreeing with you as it relates to the master plan. Okay? And I didn't think we were getting into a fight. I thought we were just having a discussion. So
it's hard to have a discussion with you, Marty, so okay.
Anyway, I would suggest ahead of the master plan review, knowing that it's coming, Mr. Sharp, if you have anything, you've been in town a while, if you have any recommendations, please forward them. You can forward them to my office, and I'd be more than happy to share them with them.
So, Scott, this is Rob. I did read some of the Monmouth County process, and I do agree that that is something we should consider, that the planning board should consider, because, it's in their court. But I also agree that we should have open hearings on the planning board part for the master plan, but I don't know how you would have. What would you ask at a planning board meeting, not related to the master plan?
Well, I don't know, but I can't ask anything or bring a topic to them now because they've closed their meeting to any sort of dialogue.
If you had the option at the next meeting, outside of the master plan, what would you ask?
Well, right now I would ask, what is their schedule for the development of a master plan?
No.
What kind of process are they going to follow?
Okay, so again, third time. Not related to the master plan, what questions would you ask?
I don't know, but I'll send you a list if that's your question.
Well, my point is,
Mr. Snow gave me one day response, and I will do the same thing for you. I can send you some questions.
Well, you're asking for us to ask them to open a meeting up for questions that right now you don't have any for. I'm all for it if there's a reason for it, if it makes sense. But I mean, three of us have served on the four of us have served on the planning or zoning board. So I just don't know what would come up that you would have a question for that you couldn't either send an email. I get that not responding. I get that, but I don't know what you would ask at a planning board or a zoning board meeting that wasn't on the agenda.
I don't know off the top of my head, Rob.
Okay.
It's mostly transparency.
Got it.
I don't know if this would solve the issue, but if we had.
Who is that?
Oh, sorry. This is Councilwoman Donlin.
I didn't. You know, your lips aren't moving. You got a mask on.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
I was just, I mean, I don't know if this would solve the problem, but having like listening, like a meeting where we can just, set up some listening sessions, take notes on what present what the master plan is, what it does and what it doesn't do, and then just sort of take general input from the public, take those notes before anything is done as part of input towards revising it once we get to that point. I don't know if that would be a possible solution.
Ms. Donald, that's the intent of the Monmouth County plan that I sent out to everybody that said, here's a process. And one of those is to identify stakeholders, businesses, the developers. Those are all stakeholders, as well as people in Little League. Who are the stakeholders? And you have to elicit from them inputs so that you know what are the priorities of those who speak up. In other cases, you don't have people who may not say anything, and then the planning board has to go forward with their best judgment. So you're exactly right. You need to listen, because otherwise the public is in a position of waiting till the end, as Mr. Arbus describes, and according to state law, that at the very end of the process, after the document has been written, then they tell the public, and these are the answers. Well, if you didn't have an input at the beginning, you're going to have problems because it's at the point where it's supposed to be voted on. So I agree with you in basics. Yes.
Okay. Good. Anybody else? Anything else, Mr. Sharp?
That's all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Anybody else out there have any questions for the public? If you want to log in, that would be the time. This is the conclusion of our meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll get there. All right. Seeing or hearing no one.
Motion to
this
adjourn.
time we're going to ask for a motion to adjourn the public meeting. Motion, Rob?
Yes.
Second?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for joining us, and you can watch us on YouTube daily, 24 hours after this airing. Have a great night, everybody.